to get in the win column. It was a difficult game going into the game because we had no idea what Nichols was going to do on either side of the football, and I thought our players handled it real well in relation to making adjustments on the sideline. I think that was evident in the second quarter as we had a little bit more of a database to be able to work off of from the first quarter. Pretty pleased with the way that we played, the way that we approached the game, and very pleased with kind of the growth of Garrett Smith at quarterback and kind of some of the things that he's doing allowed us to open up the offense a little bit more, and he had a nice ball game. A little frustrated with the penalties, although most of those kind of tended to be with the 3s and the 4s. We've been blessed here over the last couple of years to maintain a pretty low degree of penalties, and the second half, again, mostly with our underclassmen, but we kind of got onto them a little bit yesterday in relation to keeping the penalties down. But overall, it was a good win for us.
Thank you, Coach. Our first questions come from Randy with the Sunbelt Digital Network. Randy, please go ahead.
Good morning, Coach Barry. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, Randy. Thanks.
I wanted to ask you about Nicholls State. You said that you didn't really know going into the game what they were going to do on either side of the ball. Did you notice after the game with Tim Rebowe being there, did you take away anything from Louisiana Lafayette, what they ran last year, and were you able to apply that to Nicholls State?
Actually, we kind of thought that they would be a little bit more like Lafayette from a defensive perspective, at least, and they weren't anything like Lafayette. They came out with an even front instead of an odd front, which we kind of thought that they were going to be more odd, and not the same coverage spins or any of those other kinds of things. We did take last week, again, in preparation, and we basically just on both sides of the football just kind of covered about every offense and defense there was, even though we couldn't obviously do it at length, just to make sure that we were kind of fundamental in our rules and how we applied things. And I think that probably helped us a little bit because, again, it wasn't anything like we thought that we would get. Now, their offensive coordinator had a little body of work, but their defensive coordinator didn't have any at all, and so we were able to get a little bit more, I think, from their offense, and it being a little bit more similar to what we thought it would be.
And with the game, almost 600 yards of total offense. But can you pinpoint a few things that really stuck out to you offensively against Nicholls State?
Well, I think we're kind of back to kind of who we are, and which is good to see. And we were able to throw the football. We were able to run the football, especially with our ones in there. Initially, we played the game like it was 0-0 in the first half, and played, got into some 2-minute drives, and were able to do some of those other things. So we got some productivity out of that. Came back out in the second half. Would have liked to have seen our ones on either side of the football come back out in the second half, play a little bit better. We had a couple of miscues, but we basically took them out of series. And it was really nice to be able to. We don't have very many opportunities to get our younger players that extensive amount of the game, and we were able to do that there in the second half, and even got down to our 4s, which generally they don't ever get to play for us, and they got 10, 15 snaps, and which was great to watch them play.
And I have to ask you about the jerseys heading into the game. You and Wisham were pretty coy about it going into it, but did you notice that did it boost your team's kind of excitement level for the game going into Nicholls State?
Well, maybe a little bit. I would hope not. Quite honestly, I hope we just kind of go out and play because somebody's going to put a ball down. But maybe a little bit. I think one of the interesting things for us is the fact that we were able to kind of tie our mascot in for our fan base and for our players and for all those other kinds of things. Just some of the history of what that mascot represented within the military, and then be able to do it obviously on Military Appreciation Day. It was a neat uniform. Appreciated Adidas working with us on it, and again, I think it creates a little bit more of a connection between our mascot and history.
And finally, you have a bye week now. So what's kind of the process of going through the bye week and then preparation for 2 weeks down the road, at Alabama?
Yeah, well, fortunately, we came out of the game healthy, which we didn't come out of the Georgia game healthy. And while I don't really have any expectations that we're going to have anybody back for Alabama that's been injured, it gives us a chance to kind of recoup a little bit. It gave us a chance this last week, obviously, to work our younger players, and that allows for us to try to continue to build some depth. There's certainly a more of a sense of urgency and a more sense of ownership when they know that they're going to play, and they had that opportunity to do that this week. And so we'll continue to try to build depth this week and heal up, and obviously prepare for an outstanding Alabama team.